So what is an application in Pega? Application in Pega is just a collection of rule sets. So we build web-based and mobile-based applications in Pega. So in technical terms, what exactly is an application? Ignore about Pega. Start thinking about Java. What is Pega? What is an application? A collection of classes. Classes holding functions inside them, methods calling methods inside them. That's what an application is. A collection of classes and your rules inside them. So it's nothing but a collection of rules, right? Same is the case in Pega. An application is just a collection of rule sets. Okay? It's a collection of rule sets. So what is a rule set? Rule set is a collection of rules. So a collection of rules is called as rule sets, and a collection of rule sets is called as an application. So why do you need a rule set concept? Because I want to put my application in a proper order. See, currently like it's a new application, I only have 50 rules. Well and good. My application is growing. Tomorrow I'll have 500 rules and down the line I'll have 1000 plus rules. Okay? So you want to put them in different packages. Like how you put it in Java. You put it in different folders like PR web, PR servlet, something like that, right? Similarly, you also want to put our rule sets in different packages so that it will be easier for us to maintain, easier for the deployment and everything. Okay? So that's the reason we also maintain rule sets. A rule set is just a collection of rules. And a collection of rule sets is called as application in Pega. Okay? So, what are called as rules in Pega? Any executable code is called as a rule in Pega. So let's say for example, a function is a rule. Okay? A section, which is nothing but a UI, is a rule. Okay? Section is a rule. Then flow is a rule. Class is a rule. So any executable code, we call them as rules in Pega. There's a technical reason as well. I'll let you know later. But for now, just think that any executable code, we call it as a rule in Pega. So all these are called as rules. Decision is a rule. Decision means if, else, if, nested if, when rules, they are called as rules in Pega. So all these are called as rules in Pega. So all these are kept inside a folder called as rule set. Okay? And a collection of rule sets is what we call as application in Pega. Let me show you visually. It's one of my applications that my students have built. Let me show you. It's a Citibank one. Okay. So this is Pega's portal, guys. The portal where you build and deploy your applications. This is called as Designer Studio. Okay. I'll give you a walkthrough of the portal. Just hold a second. Let's complete the one that we are discussing. Then we'll jump onto the walkthrough. So let me show you where an application is. So if you click on this cube icon, open application. Okay. So this is what an application is. Always look at the top. So what is this rule? Application. Okay. Now, what is the application name? E-banking. Okay. So this is my application rule type and this is my application rule name, e-banking. Now, look at here. Application is just a collection of rule sets. So I'm saying all these 4 rule sets form an application for me named e-banking. The application is just a collection of rule sets. So if I remove one, then all these 3 form my application and I cannot access the rules in this folder. That's how an application is. So if you give all these applications here, you can access all the rules present in that rule set. If you remove one of them, you can't access the rules in that. That's simple it is. Now, open the rule set. So this is a rule set. This is the open icon here. Always remember this icon resembles open in Pega. I'll just click on this. So here is my rule set named e-banking. Okay. So here you can see I have 49 rules in this. You can click on this. You can see all the rule names, rule types, the activities. I have 9. Properties, I have 9, and so on. Okay. So rule set is just a collection of rules. Application is a collection of rule sets. Okay. Clear till here? Let me know if you have any queries. You can just ping me or you can unmute yourself and speak. Okay. Fine then. Let's move ahead. So this is what an application is. Okay. Now, I want to give access to one of the new operators to this application. Let's say you are a new joinee, okay, to my project. Now I should give you access. So how do I give you access? The first thing that I need to create is an operator ID for you. I will create an operator ID for you. Okay. So now your operator should have access to this application. So I have to give the access to the application. So in your operator ID, okay, I can give you this application. But what else I need to give you? Apart from application, I also need to give you a portal. Why? Because you might be a QA team or you might be a dev team. So if you're a dev team, I'll give you Designer Studio. If you're a QA team, I'll give you End User Portal. Maybe you're a manager. You might be you're a tech lead. Something. So your portals differ from person to person. So apart from application access, I also have to give you portal. Then what else I need to give? I need to give you some roles and privileges. Why? Because although we all are dev team, the access level differs from person to person. Leads or managers might have access to delete some high-level instances or security instances, whereas the normal developers will not have access. So the access also differs. So I need to give you some additional roles to control or to give you some additional access. So one operator should be given an application access, the portal I have to give him, the roles I have to give him. Now let's say n number of operators join into my application. There's a huge recruitment going on. 10 people join. 10 operators, 10 times mapping applications, 10 times mapping portals, 10 times roles. It's a hectic thing, right? So that's the reason what we do is we put all these things into a new one called as access group. And this access group will be given to the operators. Okay. So we create a new rule. Actually, it's a data instance. Okay. Just think it's a rule for now. We create a new rule called as access group. Okay. In access group, you specify the application, the portals, and the rules. So whenever a new operator comes into my team, I'll simply give him this access group. That's it. Now, I can have multiple access groups in my application. One access group for admin team, one for dev team, one for QA team, one for users. Okay, and I can maintain multiple access groups. And whenever a new person comes in, I'll just judge, like, is he a QA? Give him the QA access group. Is he a user? Give him user access group. So that's how we maintain multiple access groups and we give to the operators. Okay, let's see how this is being mapped. So this one being my portal, on the right side you find a blue color icon where you can find my current operator ID. Click on operator. Okay, so you at the top always operator. His name is administrator. Okay. Now this is the login ID for him. Admin@city. So this is the user ID to log in. Okay. And first tab holds all the personal information: your first name, last name, full name, your designation, your phone number, email, and everything. These are not just for storing purpose. We do a lot with this information in real time and runtime. Let's say I want to send an email and something goes wrong. I will get your email ID from here. So most of the information that you have here, we do use them in real time. It's just for storing purpose. We do use them. Okay? Then, coming to the point, operators will have access group, right? Here it is. Okay. So you have access group, these two access groups. So as I told you, we maintain multiple access groups for different designations or different roles. So I have two access groups. E-banking administrators, e-banking FW administrators. Okay. Now let me open one of them. There's a magnifying icon here. Open it. What is this? Access group. What does access group have? Applications, portals, roles. Application, e-banking. Okay. Portals. I have access to many portals. I have a developer access. I have Pega 7 Express. I have manager. I have user access. Roles. Here it is. Okay. So access group contains application, portals, and roles. Here are the three. Okay. So now let's have a look at this one. Try to map how I'm mapping it. Operators will have access groups. Access groups will have applications, roles, and portals. Application is just a collection of rule sets. Rule set is just a collection of rules. And rules means too many. Okay? So there should be a question on mappings. So how many access groups can I give to an operator? Should be a question. Okay? See, one operator can have any number of access groups. So it is one to many. Okay? So one operator can have any number of access groups. It's one to many. But you have a radio button here, right? So at any point of time, just a second guys, somebody is joining. Okay. But at any point of time, you will have only access to one application. So although I have multiple access applications mapped to me, I can't access the code of all the applications at a point of time. At a point of time, whatever is highlighted, only that application you can access. If you want to switch to the other one, you can switch like this. Okay. So currently I have access to e-banking code. If I want to switch, I'll switch saying e-banking framework. I can switch. Okay, but I can't access both at the same time. One second. Just a second. Okay. So you have to switch between your applications like this. So just remember, because guys, it can be an interview question or it can be a CSS certification question. Okay. So like I tell you, it is one-to-many mapping. Yes, it is one-to-many mapping. But can you access other application at an instant? Can you access multiple applications? No. You cannot access multiple applications at a point of time. Then why do we have this mapping? Because I don't want to create multiple operator IDs for multiple applications. Maybe I am working on 2 to 3 applications. Why should I need multiple operator IDs? One operator ID, I can access multiple applications. That's the main concept. Okay? So maybe take your manager. He might be working on 10 projects. How can he have 10 operator IDs and 10 passwords? So we just give him only one operator ID and map all the applications. So he will switch between the applications whenever needed. Okay? So that's the purpose of this one-to-many mapping. Now, coming to access group and applications, is it one-to-many? No. This is also an interview question. People try to confuse you here. Okay? Remember, access group to application mapping is not one-to-many. It's only one-on-one. Okay? It's only one-on-one. So, one access group can have only one application. So, here it is one-on-one. Okay? So, this is about your mappings. So, coming to interview questions from just the basic questions we'll discuss, guys. during this theory part. So usually you can expect questions on operator IDs and access groups. People ask you about this mappings. Okay. Somebody wants me to repeat the last point. Access group to application mapping, I'm saying. Access group to application mapping is one-on-one. One access group can have only one application. Whereas operator ID to application access group mapping is one to many. One operator can have many access groups. Okay? That's how it is. And coming to the interview questions here, people will ask you questions about this one-on-one and one-to-one in mappings between operator IDs and access groups to applications. Okay? And they'll also ask you like what do you define in an access group? Remember, you define an application name, portals and roles. Okay? So they want to understand like where are portals defined? Like is it an operator ID or an access group? Portals are defined in access group, not in the operator ID instance. Now, then coming back to your operator ID profile, you also have a work tab and a security tab. In the work tab, you will specify the routing. Okay? Routing, I'll tell you what it is. You will specify your organization, division and unit. Means for which company I'm working. Let's say I'm working for something like Bank of America. BOF hyphen, what is the division? Insurance. Insurance hyphen, what is the unit? You need to map here. It is useful. It is useful at runtime. We do use all these records. Then coming to work group, work group is nothing just like your distribution list, DLs. It's just a collection of mail IDs. Okay. I want to send a group email to all your team. I will send this to work group. Default, it is default@city or something of your choice you can give here. Okay. So it holds all the email IDs of your current team. Just sending a bulk email to a group, you use this. Okay, default@city. Work group. Remember, this is also a question, guys. People try to confuse you between work groups and work baskets. Okay, work basket is just a shared location to put all the tickets or to put all the items or tasks or work objects. Let's say multiple users are creating cases and they all route to my team. We open each one of the cases and we work on it. So work basket is just like a shared location where all the work objects will be assigned to us. So we will open each one of the cases and we work on them. That is work basket. Whereas work group, it's just like a distribution list. It's a collection of email IDs. In order to send a bulk email, we use work groups. So this operator belongs to this work group. Okay. So looking at the name, people get confused. The work group, something like a group of people. You get confused. Okay, just remember, it's just DL. And basket to store your tickets. Okay. So that is routing. I said I'll tell you routing, right? Routing is nothing but you'll be working on a case. Okay, it will be routed to another person. Then it will lie in his work basket or work list. Let's say I'm applying for a leave. Currently, the first screen would be in my bucket. When I submit it, it will go to my manager for approval. So from me to my manager, that is called as routing. Transferring a case from one person to another person is called as routing. Okay. Then reports to means your reporting manager, you have to specify here. You can select your manager operator ID and you have to specify here. Because for escalation we use it. Okay. Then skills. Sometimes we have skill-based routing in Pega. What is skill-based routing? Now I said like the end user will be creating tickets and it will be assigned to my team and then start working on it. But sometimes in your team, we might need some special skill to work on it. Let's say this needs people who know French or maybe who knows Spanish can work on this because there is a Spanish project. Okay, we need some skill to work on it. Maybe let's say in my team we are a combination of Java plus Appian plus Pega. Okay, this application front end is in Pega, back end is in something, and it connects to some other tool. So this application is interacting with multiple technologies. Okay, and whenever there's a ticket, we need a special skill to work on. So let's say I need a people with Pega to work on this ticket. So you can specify your skill here and the rating here. Rating is on 1 to 5 basis. How do you rate yourself? 3, 4, something like that. Okay? So skill-based routing is that whenever a ticket comes, we will check the person who have the skill and we route to them. For that, we use the skill-based routing. Okay? So work basket as well only shared location. We'll get back to you all this, guys. It's too much high at this basic point. So this is your time zone. Based on your time zone, your time will be populated whenever you create a work object or you do something. Based on your time zone only, your time will come. So if I put it US, whenever you create a work object, the time will come in US. So you have to change it to India. Okay. Unavailable from and to. If you are in a scheduled absence, like you're going on a leave, you have to put it here. Because when you are in leave, if there's any ticket coming in and it is getting routed to you, it's a problem, right? You're out of office and how can you expect a ticket to be assigned to you? So you have to specify it here. Then we will write in the logic that if a person is on a scheduled absence from this time to this time, the task should not be routed to him. It should be routed to some other replacement. That replacement will be specified here using the substitute. Whenever you are on leave, who is a substitute, you will assign here. So by default, it will go to him instead of you. Okay. So that's operator ID, work tab. Then coming to security tab, you can change your password here. It will not ask you for the existing password. Just simply give you a new password like this. Okay. Now, allow rule checkout. I'll tell you, we'll come back to checkouts in seconds when you discuss about rule sets. Use external authentication. See, most of our companies use single sign-on, right? We don't always give a user ID and password for most of your websites. Same is the case with Pega. In real time, we usually don't enter user IDs and passwords sometimes. Okay? So we use single sign-ons like LDAP authentication. We have all single sign-on tools, right? We use them. So if you're using a single sign-on thing, you have to enable this. Okay? For people who are not aware of single sign-on, guys, single sign-on is nothing but, let's say you have logged in into your laptop. Okay? So when you log in into your laptop, you will give your user ID and password, right? So in companies, that user ID and password is the one that is used for all your websites and all your applications and everything. So when you simply hit the URL, you will be able to log in without again re-entering your user ID and password. That is called a single sign-on, entering your credentials only once. Okay. So in Pega, if you want to achieve this, you have to enable this checkbox. Okay. And you have to write some code with the LDAP connection and everything. So what happens when you hit this URL? Your user ID and password will be checked against the LDAP database. If you have credentials, you will be allowed to log in into Pega. Okay. So in order to enable this LDAP check, you have to enable this checkbox. Okay. So this is about your operator ID profile. Let me know if you have any queries. Hi, Purnima. Purnima, am I audible? Just a second. Purnima, can you hear me? Okay. So we were just discussing about operators, access groups, and all these things. Maybe we can have a quick recap later sometime today or tomorrow, okay? So those of us who missed, will have a quick recap in the night or maybe sometime in the evening tomorrow or on the weekend. We'll discuss offline about the recaps, okay? Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to some more information about the access groups. Yeah. So coming to the security in levels in Pega. Coming to the security levels in Pega. So yeah, here comes the interview question. So most of your interview questions will ask like, how do you implement security in your application? Or how do you implement security in Pega? So the security would, that the question would be there. So coming to the security levels in Pega, first security is security at application level, access group. Okay. Then we have access roles. Then we have role to object. Then we have privileges. So first thing, security levels in Pega. Okay, very good. Now let's talk. So let's say like we all are the part of an application, and I being Dave and somebody being a QA and somebody being my manager and somebody being my lead. Now, how do I restrict access to each of these roles? The first thing I would do is give everyone access group. Every operator will have access group. So by access group, what can I restrict? I can restrict the portal that they see, right? Access group contains application, portals, and roles. So with access group, let's say because we all belong to the same project, we'll all have the same application. Let's say we all belong to a Citibank project. Okay, everyone has the same application name. So let's deal with portals. I being a QA person and you guys are being a dev team. So the portal should be different, right? You can access the code. I can't access the code. So first thing that we restrict using access groups is, let me delete this. Access groups is portals. So using access group, you can restrict a portal. That's the first level of security we can give in Pega. So it is distinguished between a user, a developer, and we have multiple roles, right? Auditor, reviewer, there are so many roles. So the portal varies from person to person. That's the first security in Pega. Then, now let's say everybody is a QA team. Okay, very nice. You have given a QA portal for every one of them. Now even in QA, some people are like a lead QAs and some people are the normal QA team. Okay, so for the lead QAs, I want to give some additional access, maybe some editing access. Others have only read-only access, or maybe some additional screen which others cannot see. So if I want to do that, I need to have a role. Okay, so that is nothing but the access rule that I have specified here. Okay, so if at portal level you want to control, it is you have to use access groups. And if you want to control the content on the screen, so if you want to control the content on the screen using roles. So how do you control it? Let's say, for example, I have a role. These roles are always your company name, colon, company name or application name. Yeah, application name, colon, the role name. So let me say my application is Citibank, right? So my application is Citibank, colon, my role is QA lead. Hey, you don't have roles like that. Just for example, I'm showing it. Your roles will be like lead, developer, like that. So let's say lead. Okay. So I have a role called as Citibank, colon, lead. So this is a role that I have created. Now with this role, I want to see a screen for change password. This is a screen called as change password. This will come only for the leads. It will not come from the other creating. Okay. So how do I make sure that using this role the person can see the screen? Simply adding a role to your access group doesn't serve the purpose. Nothing happens. So you added a role here. Does it restrict my access? No, it's not going to restrict. Why would it restrict? So you can restrict it only when go to your screen, okay? Put a visible when condition. Visible when operator has role, only then it will work. Okay? So you have to go to your logic, you have to go to your UI screen and put a logic there. This screen should be visible only when operator has role Citibank column lead. Then it works. Okay? That's how we use it. So the first level of access in Pega is portals. Based on the user designation or role, your portals will vary. Second level is roles. In the same portal, if I want to hide and show a particular content, I have to go with roles. Simply defining a role doesn't serve the purpose. You have to go to your screen or to your code and write a logic. Hey, this should execute if and only if the user has visual. Hey, this should be visible if and only if that way it's going to work. Okay? There. Now coming down still. Oh, very good. You guys are leads. You have editable access. Nice. Now can I give you editable access in prod? You are lead. That's fine. But can I give you in prod? No, right? Can I give you in UAT? No. Till QA, I can give you. Do whatever you want. Play whatever you want till QA. But not in UAT, not in stage, not in prod. Okay? So role to objects. Here comes the concept of role to objects. So in role to objects, let me open the role to objects and then get a better picture of it. I haven't given the walkthrough of the portal. If I remember it, I'll be doing it. Let me open one of them. These are all role to objects. Okay. Always look at the top. Role to object. Okay. What is the rule name? E-banking FW current user. Okay. Okay. The next one is role to object. A role to object. So for a particular role, you will give object. Okay, for a particular role. So the role should be already existing. For that, you will give an object. What is role to object? You have some levels here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 means path, 4 means pre-pod, 3 means QA, 2 means dev, 3 dev. Okay. So, in this role to object, what you specify is, can the user open instances till production? Yes, give 5. Now, if you think only till dev, give 2. Can the user modify the work objects? Yes, till production, give 5. Else 4, else 3, else 2. Your choice. Okay. Similarly, can the user run the reports? Can you run the activities? Can you open the rules, modify the rules, delete the rules? If you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They will control the access at different environment levels. Okay. So how do you control it? If you go to UAT and edit this, again you go to production and edit this? No. You will give the values here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, save it, deploy it along with your code. Deploy it till QA, UAT, prod. So automatically your access will be controlled. So maybe if I have given only 3, you can only access till 3. I mean a QA, you can't do it in prod and UAT. So that's how we control the access at different environment levels. And how will Pega know, like 1 means QA, 2 means DA, and how will Pega know the URL? It will be defined in the configuration files during the Pega installation time. Okay. We have Pega admin teams who will take care of that. We need to deep dive into it. Okay. So you will have some configuration files when Pega is being installed. So in the config files, Pega will, we will write there, like 1 equal to localhost colon 8080 PRF solid. 2 equals to localhost colon 8080 PRF something else, like some other QA URL. Okay. So this is all defined in the configuration files. Okay. Just go through it. Let me know if you have any queries. Okay. Now, so this is about your access groups, roles, and role objects. Next, coming to privileges. So if you clearly observe, there is always a link between all these three. See, first you have come to roles. Okay, roles. Role and role to object are mapped. So first you have to create a role and you have to give the name of the role here, then only you can do role to objects. So role becomes the input to role to object. The role to object will have privileges. You see here, we'll have privileges here. So they're all linked to each other. So what is privilege? Privilege is nothing but you just create some privilege. It's like a rule. Just create a privilege and you give the level here. Okay. So how do you use privileges means? Let me show you one screen, then you'll understand. Don't worry about the navigation I'm doing here. It's all the application I'm trying to navigate. None of you who are in the class are aware of that navigation, okay? Don't worry about it. I'll show you. So this is a UI screen that we have built in Pega. I'll show you a preview, then you'll understand. Okay. So this is a UI screen. You can see the screen, right? So this is a screen that we have built. It is to add new pages. As it's a city, it's a banking application which was done by the ex-student. Okay. So it's a bank. Here you can add pages. Okay. Now in the screen should be visible only to a couple of users or a set of users. Okay. So how do I restrict it? In every rule, you will have a security tab. Just go to the security tab. You'll find something called as privileges. Okay. And I'll give you a privilege here. Whatever it is. Let's say I will also create my own privilege. Okay. So if you give this privilege, only operators who have this access group, who have this access rule, will have role to object and will have the privilege. Only they can access it. Okay. So this privilege is declared in this access role. Okay, access of role to object. Let's say example, this privilege is declared here. So how can I get this role to object? Only if I have this role. How can I get this role? If a role is mapped in the access group. So end of the day, if you have the access group, which have the access role, which have the role to object, which have this privilege, only then you will be able to see that screen. Okay, so that's how we use privileges. So just creating a privilege doesn't do anything. You have to go and plug in it in any of your rules. Maybe in a screen, maybe in a flow, maybe in some other thing. You have to go and give it to the security tab. Like this, like I was showing you just now. You have to give it to the security tab. Only then the rule will be restricted. Only for the people who have access, it will be displayed. Okay. So role to object. Guys, I have PPTs for all these things. PPTs will be given to you post payments. Okay. So you have a very structured content in all the PPTs. You can go through it. I can just show you the PPTs. Just give me a second. Okay. Hope it's understandable. If not, let me know and I edit it. The privileges means to control access rule level. Why? Because in every rule you will have a security tab where you can specify the privilege. Okay. So the rule to object at environment level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you have entered. Okay. Take a minute. Please try to understand this. Let me know if you have any queries. Okay, guys. Uh, just a second. Okay. Just give me a second. I want to just test it with the PPT.